very excuse me, I was almost choked. How's everybody doing this evening? Hello, hello, hello. Let me first get in here and say hello to my peeps. Hey, Gotti. Oh my gosh, Gotti, you're here late this evening. How are you? Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Keen. Hello. Let's see, Jackie. Hey, Ray. Hello, Trissy. Vivian is in the house. Felicia, hello, hello, hello. Let's see who else. Black Beauty, Skin Tide, One Cool P, More Love. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna say a blanket hello now. Hey, Mariette, I'm gonna say a blanket hello. Those who have not said hello, so here's your blanket hello. Hi, folks. How are you? I am so excited tonight, y'all. You know what tonight is? Tonight is my special guest. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, y'all. She's here. She's been waiting on me, and I am going to bring her up. All right. We have our attorney Gloria Rodriguez. Hey, Gloria.
Hi, Miss Sylvia. Nice to see you. Nice to be on.
I know. We get to finally see your beautiful face. Yay.
I paid her to say that.
And I was talking to you earlier. And who's your favorite character?
Minnie.
Minnie Mouse.
Minnie.
I thought it was Mickey.
You know, when I was little, probably Mickey, but it's more Minnie. Yeah.
All right, guys. All right. Everybody's saying hello to you in the chat. Do you get a chance? Okay, when you look and you can just click on the side and you can see the chat. You see the chat on
comments. Oh, what's
up? Yeah, so now you can see them. Yeah, so when they're asking questions, what I did is I kind of blocked it on to the people that are subscribers can ask questions, but the other folks, they have to just watch from the bushes.
Yeah, that's good. Watch from the bushes or subscribe.
Exactly. All right, Gloria, let's get started. I always start off by getting to know who my guest is. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Happy to. So my name is Gloria Rodriguez. I think the number one thing I get asked is where I'm from. Like even Google, it's like nationality Gloria Rodriguez. So just to let all of your subscribers know, I'm from a place called Bolivia. One out of every 10 South Americans that you may come across, maybe, is Bolivian. So we're a very small population. I think there's 10 million of us around the world, and 9 of them are in Bolivia. So,
so what language do you speak in Bolivia?
We speak Spanish. We speak Spanish. We're a nice landlocked country, and my parents came to this country from there when they were teenagers. So, so I have a very unique way of getting into the law and being a professional. But I always try to think, there's so many people out there that really just everyday people that need legal advice. Corporations and big businesses, that's all great, but like the everyday person who runs into problems, those were my parents. They could have used a lawyer like me, so I knew early on I wanted to be that kind of lawyer.
And so what type of lawyer are you?
Yeah, so I do what's called general practice. My office, as soon as I got licensed, I went into my own private practice, and I used to call it door law. Whatever walks through my door, child support, criminal defense, DUI, orders of protection, estate planning, probate cases, whatever it was, if you needed a lawyer to write an angry letter, you could call me and I would research that. And if you needed someone to help you with the fence dispute you're having with your neighbor, I realized that being a lawyer like that, a general practice lawyer, you have to stay on your toes. You have to read a lot. You have to stay up to date on a lot of different areas of the law. But I think doing it that way makes me a better lawyer. And so to test that theory, even though I'm licensed in Illinois, earlier this year, kind of on a whim, I took the California bar exam. only 33% of the applicants passed, and I was one of them. So
wow,
yeah.
you're smart! Yay! Congratulations!
Thank you. 208 attorneys passed the attorney-only exam, and I think there's like 8,000 people that sat for it, and it's one of the hardest bars, if not the hardest bar in the United States. And so, to me, it was just a testament to the generality of my knowledge and my experience, and so I've been doing this for the last 11 years.
11 years.
Put on the table.
So you've been a lawyer for 11 years?
11 years. 11
wow.
years. I have a great stylist who hides the grays.
Great. I know a couple of celebrities, and you have had high profile cases. I was reading, and you had the I forgot how to say their name. The one that was with the Smollett case.
The Osundairo brothers.
Yes. Osundairo brothers, yeah. And also you had most recent Tim Norman.
Yes, correct? Ma'am. That's right. Welcome to SweetiePies.
Welcome to SweetiePies. How did you get on that case?
Oh wow. How did I get on that case? So even though I love doing appearances and things, my law firm is 100% word of mouth. So people usually they have some connection to me that's either directly me. So when I first started my law firm, I kid you not, I grew my practice one client at a time, just one family, and then they referred me, and that's that's the whole business, you know. And so it was Tim Norman and his family had gotten a little frustrated, we could say, with the prior lawyers. And so I knew someone who had worked on the show with them. And they had my name through, I can't say his name, a very famous celebrity who I did a contract for. And so he passed my name on, and I sat with Miss Robbie, who is just an amazing person. And then I met her son, you know, at the St. Genevieve County Jail. And then I kind of heard what their concerns were, and I built the legal team around them. And that included, of course, Mr. Mike Leonard, who
yes,
I know you have a connection with.
Yes, I met Mr. Leonard. I've been to his office one time, and that he was on Mr. Kelly's case at the time too. And also you were representing two individuals on Mr. Kelly, right? Is that correct?
That's right. Way back when. So my intro to R. Kelly's case really was through Diana Copeland. If you remember, she was Mr. Kelly's executive assistant for the last 15 years that he was there. And you know, it's funny, her story was really different than the story that some of the people testified to. And she was kind of the face of the employees. And it seemed like a lot of the employees didn't get a chance to testify. And it's hard if you're going to go to trial decades later. You know, people die, people move away, people change jobs. So for Mr. Kelly to really mount a defense all these years later, I think that's really, really tricky. But Diana, being one of the people that had been with him the longest, she had gotten my name word of mouth again. And she wanted representation through that process. And through my connection with Diana, I met Azriel and Joycelyn.
Okay. But how long did you was their attorney? For how long?
For like a blink of an eye. Because they're very nice girls. One thing I gotta say, man, Azriel can sing. Like, I forget, we were talking in Mr. Kelly's apartment one afternoon, and she sang me like the scale. I'm not gonna do it. But she knocked my socks off. So I can only imagine the kind of music that, Robert and Joycelyn and Azriel maybe made, and like could you imagine those?
Do you think they made some music? Do you think they have some music, hidden music somewhere?
Oh gosh, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm sure of it, and when I find it, I will help them inventory it if they want my help.
Okay. All right. One of the things that a lot of people want to know about is the appeal process. I'm bringing that up. Do you have any kind of experience with appeals? And if you do, what were some of your outcomes? And I mean, how did it work for you?
Yeah, so I think what's always tricky when I talk to non-lawyers about the different layers of, we call it, your due process. You have your due process rights. So I want you to separate the idea. When you go to trial, you have the trial judge who hears all of the evidence in your case. And maybe you have a jury verdict, like in Mr. Kelly's case or in Mr. Norman's case, or maybe you end up having a bench trial, which usually it's kind of like in civil cases, you have that option where the judge makes the decision. So most lawyers that do trial work are going to focus on the trial level. And then if things don't go your way, or if you have a good faith argument to disagree with the outcome, for instance, like in Mr. Kelly's case, then you take that to the other layer, you take that to the appellate court. And when you're in the appellate court, there's no calling of witnesses. There's no, that you don't have a trial again. You don't have, you don't even have that same dynamic, because you will never have a jury in the appellate court. Like the Supreme Court, for instance, it is just the panel of justices. And so the attorney stands at a podium and argues basically just legal arguments. You're not taking new evidence in. Nobody's on the witness stand. There is no witness stand. So my category of lawyer, I'm a trial lawyer. There's two kinds of attorneys, really. There's transactional lawyers. They are like real estate attorneys, estate planners. They're in their office. They're not in court. That's the majority of the kind of lawyer you'll find. And then there's the crazies like me who like the stress and thrill of preparing for trial. And the best way I can describe being a trial attorney, it's like that feeling when you have a really big exam the next day and you're just trying to study as much as you can, and you're not sleeping, and you're still producing, a production the next day, and you do that for days on end. And it's just the thrill of the win. Scratch that with appellate lawyers. They do a lot of research and writing, a lot of legal arguments, a lot of briefing. And so I can talk about the appellate process in general, but I am not an appellate lawyer. But I'll try to find you one to come on the show.
Yeah, I would love to have one. But here's a question I have. Okay, can someone be a trial attorney and appellate attorney and be great at both, or is just they're gonna lack on one and strong on another?
I would say can a good trial lawyer be a good and a good appellate lawyer? Absolutely. In fact, the trial lawyer is going to know, because they did the trial, what exactly their issues were. And so usually when you have an appeal, some of the best appeals are when the trial lawyer and the appellate lawyer kind of come together, because they're now combing through all the issues that were at trial. And so think about it. If you're the appellate lawyer and you had nothing to do with the trial, your only way of knowing what happened at the trial was to read the transcripts.
Okay.
That's it. So think about it. So as the trial lawyer going through the trial, you have to preserve your record. you have to preserve your record. And so someone that comes to mind who can do both, my co-counsel on the Norman case, Mike Leonard, he's one of those that, so intense the preparation for the trial, he can easily translate that to the appellate process. Jennifer Bongine, she's another stellar appellate lawyer. Obviously, she got Mr. Cosby the result that he wanted, and Mrs. Bongine is working on Robert's appeal, and she's also a trial lawyer. So yeah, there are some who can devote the time and the resources to doing that. But you see, my law firm, I may have a high-profile celebrity on Monday, and then on Tuesday I have a little child support case, or I do a DUI. So I don't want to wipe away my non-celebrity clients who I love and who need me, just to work on an appeal brief that I may find more tedious than working in court. I want to be in court, not so much at my desk.
Yeah. You were mentioning jury trial and a bench trial. Which one do you prefer if you had a client? Which one would you push your client to go through? Or
so if you're ever in that position, if you're ever having to decide whether you want a jury trial or a bench trial, the thing that should really guide you, number one, it's your lawyer's guidance. Listen to your lawyer. But I would say as a client, the jury is picked out of just everyday people. The jury ends up being, the jury pool ends up being a locality. So for instance, St. Louis, the jury pool that we had in the Eastern District of Missouri, very few of them were actually from St. Louis County. Most of them were kind of in the suburbs. So not to go down the road of talking too much about racism in the justice system, but as
you can talk about it.
Oh, okay. As a woman of color,
you can talk about it.
Is it really a jury of your peers if they're all from the suburbs and you're from the inner city? Chicago's like that too. The Northern District of Illinois, you're not getting people from the city of Chicago. You're getting Skokie and Lake Bluff and these really affluent white neighborhoods. So you have to kind of consider, where is your jury pool coming from? Okay, because those are the people that everyone has biases. Everyone's going to look at someone and hear something they may or may not like and be like, that person probably did it. Like, you want to weed people out. And the best way to not have a bias is to really not know anything about that person.
And it's hard. It's hard. Especially
so
when you're dealing with celebrities.
Absolutely. In the Tim Norman case, we had, I think 60 were called in the jury pool so that we could select, 12 people. And it took a whole day. So when you look at also in terms of like the level of complexity of the case. So if you have some really hard legal questions, like I just had a case where the judge really was offended that the plaintiff picked a jury trial. We had to talk about constructive trusts and ejectment. And does this person, all these really, really complicated legal things. And the judge kind of admonished the plaintiff's lawyer, saying, how do you, like, most lawyers don't understand what a deed in trust is, or how you convert that into a constructive trust. And yet you're expecting, 6 people that are not lawyers to understand this. So I'd say those are the 2 principles. Where is your jury pool? And how complex is your legal question?
So do you think that a jury can really be unbiased?
You have to really consider who's in the room. If you have a group of 12 people and you have 1 or 2 racist people, human nature will kind of make people go with the majority. So if the loudest person in your jury is someone who's fair and someone who can really like be aware of their biases, like someone who knows, okay, I don't like people who drive white cars or whatever, right? Someone who's aware of that bias is going to be more fair. They're going to know, oh, I need to cool my temperature down when it comes to that issue. You want those people to be the foreman. You want that person to be in the room to outweigh the racist people in the room.
But so do you get to, as an attorney, do you get to pick the foreman, or they pick it among themselves?
No, and that's the thing. As a lawyer, I probably will never have the chance to serve on a jury because they always weed us out. So, like, if you're an active duty policeman, if you have any legal education, if you've been a plaintiff or defendant, if you're a lawyer, retired judge, you probably won't ever get picked to be on a jury. So once the jury is seated, then you have to just leave it in their hands, and amongst themselves, they pick their foreman. Something else that's really interesting: they're not allowed to talk to each other, right? Like they're not allowed to coalesce, if you will. So if you put yourself in the heart and mind of a juror, imagine spending maybe weeks on end. Mr. Kelly's case was a month. Imagine every day spending all those hours sitting there, taking notes, trying to remember, and very isolated. No social media. You're not allowed to read the newspaper, not allowed to look at any television. You can only go by what is said in that courtroom. Only. Period. Punto. Full stop. And then the judge will say, okay, we're done with the trial. The defense rests. There's no rebuttal, or the prosecution rebutted, and they're done with that. Go make this humongous decision and get along and pick your leader amongst yourselves. Very, very interesting dynamic. I wish we had more studies on it.
I'm gonna do a study on that part because I really need to know. Because to me, from what I've observed, and I'm gonna just be totally honest, because I saw some jurors talking to each other in the last trial. The first one, I didn't get a chance to see them because they had us on the overflow. But this one here in Chicago, I witnessed them talking to each other. I witnessed them going out in the street talking to each other. So for them to say they don't talk to each other,
Well, so the instruction, and I got a chance to watch a little bit. I know some of the players that were litigating that case, and I think the judge had said you can't talk about the case, which is not that uncommon, I guess, when you're there for so long. But they're not allowed to share their ideas about anything that they've heard. And the judge will repeat that like every day. Don't talk about the case. Don't talk about it with family. I couldn't help but read a comment. Linda Raming, obviously the jury didn't go by what they heard in the Kelly. Yes, ma'am. I agree with that statement. How can you really dissect what you know about R. Kelly? That was pushing the rock uphill from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that was. Maybe we could start at taking some questions from the people out there. So, because I don't want to hog everything up myself. Anybody have any questions?
Sorry, Miss Sylvia. I was going to add for anyone who's interested in the jury aspect, the Pew Research, if you Google them, PEW, they released a report.
PEW?
Yeah, the Pew Research Institute. They released a report earlier this year that talked about 2% of cases in the federal district, 2% go to trial, like jury trial. And if you look at the conviction rate of the federal government, it's 99%. 99%.
But they cheat.
Oh yeah, they cheat. Oh,
They cheat because I've seen some bogus stuff that they did, and I'm like, oh my God.
yeah. They do a lot of, well, they do a lot of things that defense counsel doesn't get a chance to respond to, and I personally, um, I believe that the problem is that you don't get enough judges who were defense counsel. You get a lawyer maybe who came out of law school, went to go work for the prosecutor's office, maybe like the state prosecutor, so a district attorney or state attorney, depending on your state. Then you move up the ranks and you become a judge in the state court, right? And you move up, and it's like you're never out of this prosecutorial mindset. You're never the one on the other side of the table. And that's why in the Jessie Smollett case, you got to consider that Judge Lynn, the trial judge, he was a defense counsel. So like you had one of the best judges at 26 in California here in Chicago who has been on the defense side, and that was who was running it. In federal court, if you really look at who your federal judges are, they are almost always exclusively prosecutors. And so
Wow.
to them, like why would you sustain an objection from the defense when it's something that will hurt the government's case? Well, because in their mind, you should lose.
Wow. Oh my God, I didn't even know that. Oh, that is some good nuggets there. I saw a question here. She says, is there such a thing called jury consultant, someone that profiles juries?
Yes, great question. Is there someone that the defense lawyer can hire to help them with the picking of the jurors? There's two ways of doing that. One, with the jury consultant, they can actually help put on what's called like a mock trial. So when you look at like big firms, like big law firms, okay, like the Jenner and Blocks, the Winston and Stroms of the world, those law firms inherently have the ability to make mock trials. The everyday person like you and me, Miss Sylvia, we're not going to be able to afford that.
No.
It's too much. So you really only see the jury consultant come into play when you have a really high net worth, like more net worth than Jessie Smollett. Okay. To run through those things. The other place where a jury consultant can help you is in doing the research in advance on the jury pool. So, for instance, when my law firm, when we're picking juries, I bring my whole. It's all hands on deck. My paralegal comes, my partner comes, the associates come, and as they're writing down the names, you get to know right on the spot. Okay, juror number 11 is a personal trainer, and he has this tattoo, like a snake all the way around, and find him on Facebook, social media, Snapchat. So as they're reading out the names, your law firm, we're all researching this person, trying to figure out where on the scale there are. So a jury consultant would kind of tell you if you get someone from Evanston or you get someone from Polk County or Maricopa County, the likelihood of this person being Republican and conservative and, this or that, they can help compile that data for you in advance. But again, not too many clients can afford that. And the client ends up having to pay for everything, pay for all the litigation expenses.
But with the federal trial, when they have the jury concealed or sequestered, whatever that word is,
Yeah.
they there's not a chance for a lawyer to really research those people information or the background or things like that. Because they don't
So
have time.
I think so for the Eastern District, in Brooklyn, right, the first federal case, I remember the judge had ordered anonymity for the jurors,
Yes.
but not for the lawyers. I mean,
Okay.
the lawyers have the right to know who the jurors are. And more so than that, if you look at there is Supreme Court cases, there are examples where the jurors did something bad later, like after the trial. Okay, like the case I'm thinking of specifically, it was one of the jurors who made these racist comments after. And so that opened up the can of worms for the defendant to say, I had never had a fair trial because my jury was tainted. I had this one person who harbored these feelings. So you better believe in the bigger cases, they're still watching the jurors. They're still making sure to see who was it. Was it in Scott Peterson's case? He just got a motion for a new trial, I think, based on something that the juror, something that came to light.
I think it
Right?
was one of the jurors had a abuse thing with the wife or something like that.
That's
It was something
exactly
like that because I heard about it. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. And then someone here wrote, OJ had a trial consultant. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. High net worth,
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who can foot the bill for that.
Yeah. Wow. So, any question from the chat, or should I go on with my question? Because I have a lot.
free
I
free
was giving them a chance.
consultations.
Huh? I was
Free
giving them a
consultations.
chance. Now, you did say you haven't done any type of appeal at all, right?
Yeah, I work with the appellate lawyer, but me solely, I've never wanted to file one on my own. It's just so much briefing and legal writing, and I really focus. My passion is not in that. My passion is in being with my client, getting the facts straight. Whatever happened in your life, I need to know where you were mentally, emotionally, physically, so that I can kind of recreate the scene in my mind and apply those facts to the law. And so, something I want your audience to know, if you ever need to hire a lawyer,
Mhm.
don't hire the one that, has the most awards, or the one that charges the most. People think that means something other than charging the most, or prestige, or hire the lawyer that you get along with. Could be young, could be old, could be different sex than you, could be transgendered, whatever it is. If you have a natural chemistry with that person, your case already will be better presented. And I can tell you, my consultations with clients, I vet them so carefully because I want to make sure that they can come to me and tell me what really happened so that I can shine the light on the good facts and dim the light on the bad facts. So for any of your audience out there right now, picking your lawyer in your case is the single most important thing in your case. It really is. That's the number one, number two, number three, number four, number five importance. And if you don't get that good vibe, if you don't leave that consultation feeling like that lawyer cares about your case, then just keep looking, because you'll find someone who does. Number
So
six on the list.
someone who's really going to work your case, and somebody not just take your money and just throw you out there to the wolves.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think in today's day and age, with there's like all these virtual lawyers, and that may be fine for really easy transactional kind of things, maybe like producing a will, or things that stay on the rails. But if you have a serious problem, you don't just need a lawyer to draft documents for you. You need them to help you find a way out of your problem. And that's the kind of lawyer that I am, and that's the kind of lawyers that I associate with. We try to see where you are and how we can leave you in a better place than how we found you.
Awesome. All right, we have a question from T Girl. She says, Rob's jury was definitely tainted in New York. They said that they watched the documentary.
That's a interesting observation that I think is lost on a lot of people. You know, the the judges will say, "Well, did you ever watch Welcome to Sweetie Pies?" You know, and
Mm.
I mean, I've been through what Rob's attorneys have been through. You know, the whole room of juries, the jury pool members. You know, raise your hand if you've ever seen the show or the documentary or whatever it is, and then the judge will go one by one. Well, would your experience watching the show affect your ability to be impartial? And of course the person's like, no, I'll be fair. And the judge is like, perfect, this person said that they'll be fair even though they watched every season of this show. Or you know, they could recite the R. Kelly documentary. They were part of the movement. Or you know, I mean, I personally, I would kick that person off my jury immediately. But you also have to be strategic when you are the defense counsel. You only get so many strikes.
Mm.
The government gets less than you, because they're the government and it's already stacked against you. But you have to know, okay, I have 60 people to pick from. You almost have to pick the most racist and the most obvious ones that will hurt you, and then pray to God that the level-headed people in the room outweigh those kind of like bad choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so you know what the thing that gets me with jury trial? Half of them don't even know what the law is. And so you're putting your hand on your life on someone's hand that really don't understand, because they like during the time they came back asking the same question as the first, like the different laws, and they change the language of the laws and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy.
You raise a really good point. How much of a qualification should someone have to be a juror? Well, it's not much. You have to speak
Be a
English,
voter, be a
you know,
voter.
be a voter, be a registered voter. Um, Not really, you know, be a citizen, obviously, if you voted. Speak the language. In some cases, you may need to be able to hear and see if there's tangible evidence. In fact, I did a jury trial once where the only question the government asked was if you could hear clearly and you could see, so you could watch video. That was the only thing they wanted to know. So it's kind of scary because you get people from all walks of life. You know, I've had doctors and uh, gosh, you know, pharmacy techs and people from like the medical world, all the way down to like mechanic, you know, high school education, barely can take apart a transmission, but like doesn't know how to do paperwork, or you know, and it's just that whole spectrum of human. And yeah, you're right, you are just putting blind faith that they follow the law as it's explained in court, and that they, you know, listen to the evidence as it's presented in court. They're not allowed to, you know, get outside information. They have to go with what's inside the court.
Wow. All right, there's a couple of questions here. It says here, do you believe Mr. Kelly has a good chance for a lawsuit on Lifetime and the news media for defamation?
Oh man, no. No, does Mr. Kelly have a good chance for a defamation case against anyone? Defamation is a civil claim that you make against someone when they tarnish your reputation, or when they print something and it speaks poor of you. And the problem with Mr. Kelly's case, if he were to file one, it's that he's already been convicted. And so an absolute defense to defamation is truth. So if I were to say, don't want to slander anybody, but if I were to say that my neighbor who ran the red light and got a ticket for it and paid the fine, and a judge found that person to have run the red light, then it's not defamation for me to say to the other neighbor, hey, that guy ran the red light, because it's true, or at least a court of law found it to be true. And so in Mr. Kelly's case, he's not going to be able to do that because there's already been a court of law, two courts that have two juries that have found him guilty of that. So I don't think it would go anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, well, Queen Everybody just said the same thing, that he should have did this before he was convicted.
Oh man, Mr. Kelly, I think, was just always trying to this is just my impression from the people I know of him and the people that were working for him. I really don't think he thought it was going to get to this. And it's really sad to see that at the end of the day, the people that were looking out for Mr. Kelly, they were really outvoted by the people who weren't. And that's why it really does take a team around the celebrity to make sure that their feet are on the ground. Okay. And and I think this really applies to anybody. If you get so good at one thing, or you're really good at doing something, your business, whatever it is, and you're not so good at payroll or logistics or whatever, you need to find yourself that partner who's going to complement you, and that way you don't start getting into trouble.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. Absolutely. Let's see, any more questions? How much time do we have with you? Because I don't want to hold you up and then you won't come back anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, Gloria is not coming back.
Oh, Miss Sylvia, I'm good till 9. I'm good till 9.
Okay. So it's about what, 3 more minutes?
Oh, I have 8:52.
Yeah, we got about 6 more minutes because I got to give you a little wrap up.
Oh, okay. Can I make a comment there? I was seeing
Sure.
the Linda again. Linda, you're firing away. All the jurors needed was to have critical thinking skills. I think also, that's a great point. I wonder, do people even know what Robert Kelly was actually convicted of? It was of violating the RICO Act.
Yeah.
The perversion of how it was used in this case. I think it was Miss Bonjean who said, like, in that case, Matt Lauer could be charged. To have the federal statute used in that way. I mean, I just, a lot of lawyers don't understand how that act even really applies and how it's such a niche area. So to bring the weight of all these victims to talk about these stories, I mean, what do you think the jury's going to really hear and remember? These salacious stories of sex and women in the same outfits and the forcing, or how the law doesn't apply in the RICO Act because of certain key elements of the statute. It's like human nature is lazy, kind of at our core. We want the easy way out. It's just easier to convict him than to really go through those layers of the RICO Act. And if any of you wanted help going to bed tonight, you could definitely Google RICO Act. Start from the top. I guarantee you by the time you get to Article 4, you're going to be like, promise.
All right. Spitting Fire says, how did Jessie Smollett get out of jail even after being sentenced?
Great question. On March 10th, he was sentenced to 30 months probation, 150 days in jail, $25,000 fine, and restitution of $120,000, like 16 cents. That was for the overtime of the police.
Oh, you know it well.
Well, I was there. I'm the lawyer for the brothers, so yeah, I know this case. Um, the the next day, his legal team filed an emergency motion, and the emergency motion was basically arguing that, well, I don't want to bore your audience, but basically arguing certain points about the appellate procedure. And so the appellate court, in a 2-1, decided, we'll let him out and decide, and you guys can brief the issues, these legal issues. And so that's why, he served 5 days in jail, and then the appellate court let him out on bond. But we hope to have that ruling early next spring.
Wow. Okay. We got about 2 more minutes. Anybody have a question? Okay. All right. She says, Queen Everybody says, relationship issues. So anyone can be charged and convicted off a bad relationship. Scary.
I think what Queen Everybody, I think the point there is just that people can weaponize their relationships with other people, and that it's scary how the law allows us to do that. And the what comes to mind in my practice, where I see that a lot, is in custody disputes. You see mom and dad fighting over child, and maybe the kid comes home with a bruise or one hair out of place, and then one parent is accusing the other parent of abuse, neglect, in some cases sexual abuse, or they're accusing that other parent's partner. And so they've weaponized their dirty laundry, if you will. And that's where I really think you need to have good judges with common sense, who can pull out the people who are in court to spite the other person, or to take revenge on the other person, and who are using the legal system in a way that it wasn't really meant to make them whole. The law is not meant to be, uh, proactive. It's not. It's meant to be reactive. If you are wronged, then you have a way to correct that wronging from that person. And so the idea is that we're premised on all of us not harming each other. Like that's how the glue of the law, right, is that we all care for each other, we all respect each other, and we wouldn't do anything intentionally to hurt our neighbors. So that's why the law has to be reactive to problems. But when people go out and accuse their ex-husband or ex-wife of impropriety or things like that, just to kind of one up them in a divorce, it's very ugly. It's very sad. And you're thankful as a lawyer to get a judge who can see through that.
Okay, my last question here. Sure. As far as like we're talking about, what about if that person, like the wife or that husband, is found that they lied, did a false report or false accusation? Are there penalties, and are those being carried out in I'm going to say in the state of Illinois?
So there's something called the litigation privilege. And I get asked this all the time. So it's really, you have a smart audience. When you're in court and you're testifying, or you're making pleadings, and you say something that could be defamatory, like you write in your pleading, respondent sexually abused a child, like that's defamatory per se on its face. You don't have to dig into the statement. That's a defamatory statement. Because you're saying it in the context of a court proceeding, you don't get to be sued for saying it. So that's civil liability. You can raise that litigation defense. However, if you are found to have intentionally and maliciously put that other person in harm's way, okay, the best example I can give you is with, again, back to custody cases. I don't know if in your state you guys have like a DCFS or
We do.
HFS or
We do.
CPS, Child Protective Services. When one parent claims child abuse and they call the hotline and they say, oh, just for example purposes only, the dad is doing this, the dad is leaving my daughter alone, the dad is da da da, and then DCFS or whatever the acronym is in your state, they come out, they investigate, and it's unfounded. Then the person calls again. In my state, that's a felony. That is, you'll probably get probation. But if you do it enough times, it can be aggravated, and you can be sued by the city or the town for the cost of the investigation. And that's the Smollett case. If to compare the themes here, what was he charged with? It was filing a false police report, right? It is reckless conduct or disorderly conduct within that making a false police report. So can you be maliciously prosecuted? In some states, that is actually like a complaint you can file, and if any of your audience members finds themselves in that situation, they would want to find a lawyer who does civil law, who does malicious prosecution claims.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gloria. We are at that time, guys. We are at that time. I want to thank you again so much for your time and bringing us some 411 on the law.
It's my pleasure, Sylvia. Thank you so much. You have a very lovely audience base, and I'm happy to be on anytime.
Thank you so much. And please give me some more lawyers.
I will. I'll talk to Mike. I told you I would, and I'll see if I can talk to Jennifer too.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. If you could get Jennifer, woohoo!
I'll see what I can do.
All right. All right. Thank you so much again, Gloria. You have a great night. Have
My
a good
pleasure.
one.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Wasn't that awesome? Woo, woo. Yay, yay. Anybody got any question? You got any question? What do you think, guys? Did y'all get some 411 on that? And the reason why I didn't ask too much of Mr. Kelly question with her is because she's familiar with the case, but she was not the kind of lawyer. She doesn't have the expertise of federal cases and things like that. So I just had to get a foot wet and some attorneys. We're gonna have a whole bunch of different attorneys. You heard her. She's gonna try to get Jennifer. Hey, she's gonna try for me. So don't forget, we got Timony coming up on Wednesday. So get your questions together for Timony, because now she has the background of a federal court. Yeah, federal court. All right, I'm gonna put the link in there for you guys to come on in. So those who wants to come in, Gucci. I try not to keep my guests too long because I don't want to, burn my bridges and keeping them long and then you guys harass them. I don't. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Y'all always on your best behavior. I'm so proud of y'all. I'm so proud of y'all. You're so awesome. Hey, go Spitting Fire. Yay, Spitting Fire.
What it do? What it do?
Hey.
That was an awesome interview. I was a little bit behind, but that was an awesome interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a great interview. And I'm so glad that everybody didn't douse her with Rob or Kelly.
Oh, she got muted. What happened? She muted herself out. We can't hear you if you're talking. We can't hear you if you're talking. Spitting Fire, you might have to go out and come back in because we can't. Oh, she gone. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Timony, oh yeah, I'm excited for the next couple of people that we're gonna have. You're doing a fantastic job, girl. God bless you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Oh, here she come. Here come Gucci. Hey, Gooch. You still there? When did you come back?
Tomorrow. Hey,
Oh,
I'm in the casino. I walked away from the table. Hey, I was listening. Great job.
thank
You
you,
hear me?
Gooch.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of
Thank
course,
you.
you see all that slot machine behind me. So, y'all don't hold it against me, but you did a fantastic job. I'm going to
Thank
go back in the chat. Spitting fire, you was on your best behavior, too.
and I'm so proud of my chat. You guys rock because
Yeah. Hey,
y'all didn't make me ashamed, and I can bring all kinds of people up here, and you guys are. Thank you,
oh,
guys. Thank you.
oh, you said we need to call him tonight, Sylvia, me and you, because him
Okay.
and his daughter want to come, and he's going to have a special guest. I can't tell you who.
Okay. Okay. I'm
So,
ready.
but I'm going back in the chat because
All right.
Spitting Fire getting ready to come on, right? With you.
Yes.
So I'm going to chat, go misbehave.
Okay. All
Look,
right.
people,
Thanks, Gucci.
look. All right, but again, great live. I enjoyed. I've been in the chat just watching. I love it. Continue to do what you do, and put that smile on again. Show them white teeth. There you go. There you go.
Well, we got a couple of more this week. We have Timony Adams.
Oh,
And Timony,
did I do the flyers for that?
you did the flyer for that.
Okay,
Y'all,
cool,
thank Gucci, man. Y'all, Gucci's been doing it. He's my marketing person, so I put
baby.
out the flyers.
I
Anybody that
got
needs the
I
flyers
got
for
you.
those,
I got you. Look,
thank you, Gucci.
we only about positive. I got you. Do your thing. Continue to make that big Kool-Aid smile. People, don't she look like that Kool-Aid dude on
Oh, what?
the thing with that
We
Kool-Aid
gonna
for
get
the
the
president?
red off with the red.
Look,
Hey, Kool-Aid.
people, I love y'all. I'm in Lake Tahoe. I'm not gonna lie. I've been to Vegas everywhere. This is my first time being to Lake Tahoe, Sylvia.
I've never been
I'm
there.
gonna bring you. We coming, Sylvia. Oh my God. When I mean, yes, it's cold, but it is so lovely. I
I
love
saw the pictures. Okay.
it. Right?
He wanted me to show y'all the picture. Hold on, y'all.
Yeah. Oh,
Hold on.
it's so. Hey, I watch the sunset. So go ahead. I'm going in the chat. All right.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Okay. I gotta end, y'all. Have a good one, guys. Good night.